What is the difference between winners and losers? It's not talent, it's not luck, it's discipline. And most men ignore it. Most men don't know how to build it, and that's a big mistake.
Hey. Yeah, let's see how you do under pressure. Oh.
Hey guys, Brandon Giebel here, and in this video, we're going to talk about discipline. We're going to talk about how you can build discipline, how you can delay instant gratification, and how you can start building better habits and start actually creating better things in your life. I honestly believe discipline is freedom. You can tell someone if they have discipline just by looking at them, whether they have discipline in their physical, because it goes physical, mental, success. So we have to be good in the physical first, and a lot of that comes down to discipline. Now, a lot of people, they try and use motivation, and so we really need to have discipline over motivation. Motivation fails, but discipline is what keeps you going when you don't feel like doing it. Winners show up daily by using discipline, no matter how they feel. It's about, right, I've got to do this, I've got to get up. My alarm goes off in the morning and it's like discipline that gets me up. I don't necessarily want to get up at that time every morning, but I do through discipline. I'm not motivated. I don't have to watch a motivational video. I don't have to go and hype myself up just to get out of bed. I just have discipline, like it's time to get up. And I've built the discipline. Discipline's like a muscle, right? We've got to build that muscle. There's this story of two men who went out into the forest to chop some wood. Now, one of the men, he was full of energy, full of motivation, and he was swinging his axe with all of this strength that he had. And he was chopping furiously, and he was swinging the axe, and for hours he did this, but he soon became very tired and it wore him out. His swing started to become weaker, anywhere near as much power, and by midday he was gone. He was exhausted and he had very little wood to show for it. Now his friend, the second man, however, worked differently. He swung his axe steadily, taking short breaks from time to time whenever he needed them to sharpen up his blade and to rest a little bit. He wasn't the fastest, but he was the most consistent. And by the end of the day, his pile of firewood was twice as high as the other guys, as his friend. Now, the first guy, the one who was fueled by motivation and had full of energy and full of motivation, he was frustrated. And he asked, "How did you cut so much more than me? I was working just as hard." And the second man smiled and said, "You relied on energy. I relied on my discipline." And so the lesson in this is motivation fades. Discipline keeps you going. The ones who succeed aren't the ones who start fast, but the ones who stay consistent, sharpening their skills and showing up every single day. I always say it's like if you do a 90-day sprint and you go hard for 90 days at anything, it's going to be good. You know, you'll probably be good if you stick to it, but you will never get as much done as if you went a little bit slower and did that for 12 months. That will change you from the inside. Consistency is key with everything, and you don't need motivation. It's like I do this for the rest of my life now, rather than go, I'm just going to do it for 90 days. That takes discipline. Otherwise, it's just motivation. So use discipline in your life, not motivation. And John C. Maxwell said, motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. And it's so, so true. Now, motivation isn't bad. Let me just talk about this. Motivation isn't bad. We're not saying like don't have any of it. Sometimes it's good. You know, if you need a little bit of it to get into action, awesome, but don't rely on it. Like it's there to help you move and to get going, but then that's when discipline takes in. And so once you get that, you don't need to rely on motivation. You can use the motivation to get you to start, but then when you've had the discipline and you build the discipline, it becomes a muscle and you just get more and more done. And so once you've built the discipline and you've got discipline over motivation, super important. If you're watching this video right now and you're like, this seems like a lot of work, it seems hard, I'm not built like this, bullshit. That's just a bullshit story you're telling yourself. You've got to train. You can either train or you can play, and there's no in between. Now, we train men like you every single day. Men who want to take their life to the next level, men who want to recreate themselves, men who want to step up as the leader of their family, of their businesses, of their communities, of their companies. And so if you resonate with any of this, down below what you're going to see is a description of this YouTube video, and inside of that there's going to be a link. Click on that link, enter your name, enter your phone number, enter your email address, and my team will personally reach out to you, showing you the 4 steps and the 4 stages that can help you get to where you want to be. So if you're serious about recreating your life, if you're serious about stepping up into the man that you know that you can be, managing your life, managing everyone else's life because you manage your own, then Let's do it. I'd love to see you on the inside. We then need to practice delayed gratification, because delayed gratification wins. The ability to risk short-term pleasures for long-term success is what separates the strong from the weak. Say no today and say yes to something later on. Every time you say yes to something now, you say no to something later. Yes and no is the two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. You can't say no to something without saying yes to something. You can't say yes to something without saying no to something. And so if we say yes to what is happening short term, to the something that's going to give us that instant gratification, we're actually saying no to something else. And most of the time that's no to our future. That's no to success. That's no to the thing that we really want after that short term little thing. So you have to be able to build that delayed gratification. And so one of the best ways I've found is to make it bigger than what it is. Let's use health, for example. You may have this health goal and you might be like, oh, I'm craving some sugar or something like this. And so then you go, okay, I can have this sugar. And you're like, it's not that much, but it's gonna give me a little bit. But it's only once, and you make all these excuses. But we wanna make it bigger than what it is. Because eating one little thing isn't really much, but how often that happens and what it does to your discipline and what it does to you keeping on track, who knows exactly how far that goes. Whereas if we make it bigger and say, if I eat this, that means I'm saying no to my future self, saying no to my future best physique. And then you start making it bigger than what it is, not in the form to make you feel guilty, but in the form for you to go, no, I'm choosing this, not that. Because then you realize it's a choice. And so this is the biggest thing that helped me get over my food and eating challenges. Like may have heard before, I used to struggle quite bad with binge eating and eating too much food. Fly in, fly out, I'd eat 4 or 5 plates of food, starve myself and all this. And it was just a big, massive distraction. And so it was an instant gratification. It was like me doing that and eating that food and distract me from this thing that was all the way over here that I didn't want to deal with. So I'd have the instant gratification. And for me, the more that I started like pulling off that and say, no, not today, just not today. And then I would go, not today, not today. And then I started dealing with what's under the surface. And then that was when it was like that instant gratification. I didn't need it anymore. So sometimes we need to dig a little bit deeper too and find like, well, why are we chasing? What are we chasing from this gratification? And we've got to delay it as well by connecting it to the bigger thing that we want to achieve. So then we don't see it as like just saying yes to this. We're saying no to the big thing that we want and to our goals and our dreams and our desires. So Samuel Johnson said, the change of habit are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. Think about that for a second. The chains of habit are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. So rather than trying to build a habit that we might not even be aware of and then have to try and break the habit, we don't even start them by delaying the instant gratification. Chasing this gratification, we then building all these habits of chasing that gratification, and that's gonna make it so much harder to break in the long term. And talking about habits, it leads me on to the third point here. Small habits equal big results. Mastering discipline starts with the small things. Waking up on time, hitting the gym first thing, and sticking to your word, sticking to saying the things that you're going to do. Don't let yourself down. We don't honor our word. We just throw it out like, yeah, I'll do that, but we don't live up to our commitment. If you can't control the small things, if you can't control the time, like I'm gonna get out of bed and go to the gym in the morning, and you can't control that, you won't be able to handle the big things. And I found with stacking these small little habits in the morning have made a big difference in my life. In my mornings, I get up early, I get up at 4, I do a little bit of cold exposure, I then do some affirmations, I then jump on the rebounder for 5 minutes, I then meditate, I then write down my goals and my commitment and my gratitude for the day, I then get a good workout, have a little bit of caffeine, go for a good workout, and then by that time I come home and I am feeling amazing. I'm like, I've done so much and I've already won for the day because I've just hit all these small little daily habits, and they don't really seem like much in isolation, but stacked together, it's a big thing. It has this compounding effect. So the small little habits compound and they add up to this big result. And that's what you want to get. Imagine if you did that. Come 9 o'clock in the morning, what I've done in that time, some people don't even do that in a full day. And so this is just by stacking these little habits, stacking these little wins, and results will get bigger and bigger. Now, Robin Sharma said, small daily improvements over time lead to stunning results. It's like the compounding consistency. So compound interest, they say, is one of the 8th wonder of the world. And so it goes like this, and it's quite flat, but then as the time goes on, it starts getting sharper and sharper and sharper. And then before you know it, it's like vertical. The results are like vertical in compound interest. And so it's the same with you. You know, just going to the gym every single day probably isn't really going to do much if you've never been to the gym until you start going for a little bit. Then when you do that every single day for 12 months, you'll probably look at yourself and go, wow, I've actually built some muscle, or I've, you know, leaned down, or whatever it is that your goal is. But then if you keep going even further and keep going even further, your results get bigger and bigger and bigger compared to when you first started, right? And it all starts with just those small little daily wins and those daily habits, and that leads to a big result at the end. And so success isn't about luck, it's not about talent, it's about mastering yourself. Discipline is about the ultimate superpower that you can develop. So start training today. Start training your mind, start training your body, start training the discipline as a muscle, and watch your life change completely. So let me know in the comments what your biggest takeaway was. If there's anything I can do, as always, let me know. I'm here for you, I've got you back for life. I want to help you. I want you to step up and be a 10 times better version of yourself, mentally, emotionally free, and be physically better, emotionally and relationship-wise, communication-wise, all of those things. So if there's anything I can do, reach out to me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. You made it to the end of the video, and you are one of the top 1%ers who get to this point. Now, if you're sick and tired of not growing to the level that you want, if you're sick and tired of being the same spot that you were 12 months ago, if you're like, you know what, I've got so much more to offer, but I don't really know how to get there, then if that is you, down below, book in your call with one of my team. Just enter your phone, enter your email, and enter your number, and hey, look, we can't reach you if you enter details that are wrong. So enter your right details. We'll be able to reach out to you. We'll show you the 4 stages that we take men through that's gonna completely rip you out of your current situation and push you in a new direction that where you want to go. I will push you as hard as I can to get that outcome for you, because I know how much the life is good on the other side of it when we get out of the shit, when we get onto where we want to go. So click the button, and I'll see you on the other side.